Okay. So this is our officer training session for service. My name is Maddie Fletcher. For those of you who I have not gotten the pleasure to connect with, I've gotten to work with about half of the chapters. Some of you have been working with Alexa too, so we kind of work together as the service team just to, make sure we're supporting you guys and really, helping all of our chapters with service. So with that being said, welcome service directors. I am so excited to get to talk to all of you today about all things service. So if you want in the chat, you can introduce yourself and either write a fun fact about yourself, or maybe something that you're looking forward to with this upcoming semester. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that. Jasmine, I had no clue that they had over 50 movies about Elvis. That's crazy. Ooh, I love getting to read all these introductions. I'm gonna give it like 2 more minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so it looks like everybody did their introductions. Perfect. So a little bit about, like, I have some slides here. If you guys have questions with the information that's on the screen, feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask, or you can ask in the chat. If you have a question about something that you don't see kind of throughout the presentation, there will be an opportunity to ask those questions at the end. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So the first thing, kind of just some general officer expectations. Make sure you're using your Omega Phi Alpha email address and the G Suite when you're working on things for your chapter. Make sure you're logging into OPA portal regularly too. We post kind of forms that need to be filled out. We post information on there. And then you guys should be checking it also with events and kind of all things service. Track chapter progress on OPA portal, which is going to include meeting minutes, service projects, service hours, or other events. Respond in a timely manner to communication from the national team. Try to do it within 72 hours. Life comes up, and so if it's not within those 72 hours, it's okay. But just try to answer them in a timely manner. And then make sure you're completing your monthly officer reports by the 15th of each month. And make sure you're doing them for every month of the semester also. I definitely don't want to have to hunt you guys down, and I don't think you guys want me hunting you down. So if you can make sure that you're doing those, the monthly officer reports for service, because a lot of chapters usually have two service directors. Each chapter, if you have two, you can do one or the other. Both of you don't have to submit it. But if there's only one service director for the chapter, then that service director is going to need to submit that monthly officer report. Basic service expectations. So every chapter should be planning service projects in the 6 areas of service, which we all know are the university community, community at large, members of the sorority, nations of the world, permanent project, which is also known as our mental health project, and the president's project, which is hands-on service. Chapter service directors can reference the service director manual for pre-approved projects if you guys are having difficulty coming up with those project ideas. If you guys are also having issues, you can feel free to reach out to me and I can definitely help brainstorm some options. Chapters should be on track to meet national requirements, which is completing a minimum of 160% project in each area of service and completing a minimum of 10 service hours per semester per active member. That is the bare minimum from nationals. Some chapters, your local bylaws and your local constitution might have a different number. I know some have 15, some have 10, but we need you guys to complete that bare minimum of the 10 hours per nationals requirements. And then chapter service directors should be participating in the service director Slack channel and complete monthly service director reports for the chapter service program coordinator. Any questions? Sienna, I can ask Taylor, who works also on the national team, if there is not a link to the Slack, I can have her invite you to the Slack. So if there's anybody else that does not have access to the Slack, just feel free to let me know and I can have somebody from the national team add you guys into that service director Slack channel. Okay, let's see. Perfect. And then, like I said, our national service requirements. So each individual new member and active member must complete a minimum of 10 service hours to meet national service requirements. Chapters can request for more requirements for members, but can't require less than what nationals requires. And then each chapter must plan a minimum of 6 projects each semester for each area of service. And there has to be that 60% attendance in order for it to count for at least one project in each category of service. And then as a service director, just to go over your duties in case there's anybody here. I know when I was an active, I took on a position on exec in the spring. So kind of just going over those duties, planning all your service events for your chapter, maintaining an accurate record for all active members' participation in service projects. You're overseeing the service function for the chapter, and then you're also tracking the individual hours of each sister in your chapter. Some of the associated national paperwork is going to be your service director monthly report forms, and then logging projects and hours on OPA portal by the end of the semester. That is all going to be super important because as a team, we go in at the end of each semester and we do checks throughout the semester too to make sure that each chapter is on track to meet those national requirements in service. And so I'm sure some of you have received emails this past semester from me or from Alexa. If there was any feedback about, how can we make sure that you guys are meeting those requirements? So just making sure that you are staying on top of that. And then our upcoming semester success. So as soon as your chapter determines your projects for each of the 6 categories, there is a form on OPA portal titled Spring 2024 Service Projects. You guys are not able to put your events on your chapter's calendar until they've been approved. And usually with that approval, you guys will submit the form. We go in and look, and then we will email feedback. Some of it might just be, hey, great project. But if there's a project that we aren't able to approve in one of the areas of service, we'll give you that feedback and then give you guys the opportunity to select another project for that area. And then we'll have you resubmit that form on OPA portal just so that everything is all good to go. And then after you guys get approved, you'll be able to put all of your events on your chapter's calendar. If you guys are having difficulty selecting projects in each area of service, there are suggestions in the service director manual. You guys are free to reach out to me, and then I've also put some ideas in this PowerPoint if your chapter hasn't fully decided on all your projects for each area of service. So Jessica, it'll depend kind of on when you submit it, usually over the weekend. We're not checking OPA portal as much because we're people too, and we have kind of our lives too outside of OPA portal. But if you guys have submitted that form on OPA portal and it's been a little bit and you guys haven't heard anything, feel free to reach out and then we'll go in and check, because we don't get notifications or anything like that when there's any submissions to the form. So usually we try to get back to you guys within 72 hours, but if it takes a little bit longer than that, and you haven't heard anything, feel free to reach out to us. Were there any questions on that slide? There is also another form on OPA portal that's Spring 2024 Service Projects. It's additional projects. So if it's a project that's automatically approved through OPA, you guys don't have to submit it on that form. But if it's another project that you want to use that's outside of those those main 60% projects, please submit those with a description on that Spring 2024 additional service projects so that we can approve those also. Okay. So our umbrella events, which is also known as grouped events, we noticed as a national team in the fall that a lot of chapters were having difficulty with those grouped events. And so that was probably an email that a lot of chapters received just saying, hey, we need you to go back in and group events, which I know it can be a pain because once you put the event in and it's already passed, there's no way to modify it. So then at that point, you'll have to go delete the event, re-put it in, and then group it. So we really want to stress this kind of grouping of the projects so that way it's easier for you guys, and you won't have to stress out as much about attendance, because any event that fits into that group, the attendance will all be counted automatically. And so those grouped events are projects. So an umbrella project is a project that has multiple dates, times, or locations. So if your chapter, for example, you guys are donating or you're volunteering at, let's say, a food bank, and you're gonna do it multiple weekends over a semester, you're going to want to go ahead and group those activities so that if there are people that can come to, let's say, the first time you do it, but they can't come to any others, you're able to count that attendance for any time that event is hosted, and that'll count towards your 60% participation, rather than it saying like, oh, when you held it the first time, only 20% of people participated. And the second time, let's say 14% of people participated. It makes that the math a lot easier to figure out for you guys and for us. So we definitely want to encourage you guys grouping events when you can. Um, and if that's something where you guys, as a chapter might have some difficulty with that, feel free to reach out to us and you guys can always schedule a Zoom call. And we can walk you through kind of what that process looks like. There's a picture up on the screen where it says grouped events. Is this event part of a semester-long series that should be grouped together and counted as a single event? And then you have the opportunity to either put no, yes, and it'll make a new event group, or group the event together with an existing event group. Are there any questions about this? Perfect. I will move on along. Okay, so just as a review, we have our areas of service. So the university community, community at large, nations of the world, our members of the sorority, our permanent project, which is also known as mental health, and then our president's project, which is hands-on service. Participation in planning. So when you guys are looking at, what projects you guys want to do for each category of service, the way that members can participate can look very different. So members can participate in projects through the actual time they're physically spending at the project, if they're helping with follow-up or cleaning up from the project, if they're donating or providing supplies for the project, seeking out donations for project expenses, and also writing thank you notes after the project for those who participated. We, as a national team, would advise that you guys limit the number of expense-based projects you guys are doing. Because when you guys are asking people for donations, whether it's a monetary donation, item donation, people tend to maybe be a little less likely to participate. If this is a project that you guys really want to do, you definitely are not limited to doing them, but we probably would not recommend doing more than one, like expense-based project each semester. Another thing to note is that when you're creating these projects on OPA portal, please try to do them as soon as possible. So that way, active members have enough time to participate. And in that case, you're just creating the event on OPA portal and then you're inviting people to sign up for each event. Please make sure that people are signing up for the events also, because that is the way that we are able to track attendance. If people are being manually added, that works too, but sometimes OPA portal likes to give us a little bit of difficulty. And so if they can register for the event, that is better in every case. And then events that are created on OPA portal should have the following things. You, number one, need the name of the project, and that's not going to be titled as the area of service. You're also going to want to tag the appropriate area of service, because that helps with the calculations and everything like that. And then the maximum number of hours that can be earned from the project. Any questions on this? Okay. So our service hours. As service directors, this is one of your main priorities. You're going to want to create a system to track service hours for each member of the chapter. Whether that's creating kind of like a spreadsheet or another system that works well for your chapter, you're definitely going to want to make sure that it's a system that can be done consistently. Nationals looks at the data at the end of each semester. So if you're tracking inaccurately, it's going to negatively reflect your chapter. And so we want to make sure that, all of our chapters are meeting that 60% attendance requirement. You guys are meeting your individual service hour requirement. Since service is a huge component of our sorority. Potential ways to track service hours, you might do 1 hour worked equals 1 service hour. If it is a monetary based or an expense based service project, you might do $15 donated equals 1 service hour, or whatever system works best for you guys. Or you might do, for instance, $15 worth of supplies donated equals 1 service hour. I know one of my chapter's projects is we did a feminine hygiene drive. So for us, it was, for every item you brought in, you got an hour. And so, just talk to your chapter to see what method works best for you guys. Again, if you're choosing to do an expense-based project, we recommend that you guys don't do more than 1 a semester. So that way people, are more likely to participate. With that being said, you might need to set a cap for hours that can be earned throughout or through each project to encourage active participation during the semester. If you have an event where you can earn 5 hours from it, that's going to be half of your hours right there that you need as an individual member. So, if you really are trying to increase that participation, you might want to keep that number lower for every event so that people are, wanting to participate and meeting those national requirements too. And then just as a reminder, membership events and sisterhood events can't count as service hours, which I know can be difficult, especially with the sisterhood events, because our members of the sorority category, there are a lot of chapters that try to do like a self-care day or do something that benefits the members of the sorority, but really it's more of a sisterhood event. And then some chapters get a little confused when we say, hey, that we can't count that as a service project. So just making sure that, our membership events and sisterhood events aren't being counted as service hours. Any questions there? Okay, we're gonna move on. So now we're going to go into some examples for each area of service. And this is definitely part of kind of the training where if your chapter has a really great, project that you guys have done in the past, feel free to unmute yourself or you can type in the chat. Because with the semester approaching us, you guys are going to need to submit your project ideas pretty soon. So maybe if your chapter hasn't 100% figured out your projects for the semester or anything like that, this might be a great opportunity to learn from other chapters, or if you guys have questions about a potential project that you guys want to do and you want to get some clarification on whether it would be approved or not, this would be a great time for that also. So examples of the university community projects. So as a reminder, these projects should benefit the university community, which could include staff, students, faculty, or other members on campus. Some chapters have done campus or stadium cleanups, which is a pretty easy one to do throughout the semester. Some chapters will volunteer at student move-ins at the start of each semester. Some chapters have participated in voter registration drives for students on campus. Some will do a staff or faculty appreciation event. You might volunteer at university events, which you can attend, but you have to also volunteer in order to receive those service hours. Just attending the event will not allow you to receive the hours. Some chapters will do a midterm or finals week care package for students or faculty. You might host a food or supply drive for campus food banks. You are also able to serve as a mentor to other students on campus, whether that's an academic type mentor or just kind of providing resources to students who might need, who might seek out for different resources that your university might have access to. And then also an example I've seen is a chapter reached out to an academic department on campus and partnered with them to host a resume writing workshop. Is there anybody that wants to comment about a university community project that their chapter did that they really enjoyed? Or does anybody have any questions that they want clarified about this area? So Jasmine, we love doing a puppy booth where our members bring their dogs during midterm season to deflect some stress. I love that. I know when I was an active, I also had Panhellenic sororities on my campus. And so, or for anybody that doesn't know Panhellenic, it's Greek life. And so I loved getting to see all the puppies. Let's see. Sienna, if you want, I can either private message you or I can email you if you want to discuss that project further. Okay, perfect. Okay, we can move on to the next area. So we have examples of community at large. That might look like an awareness walk. I know a lot of campuses do Relay for Life. There have been some chapters that do local awareness walks with nonprofits that are pertinent to their area. So any of those would count as a community at large event. Some chapters will volunteer with blood drives or offer to host a blood drive. Food drives for food banks or pantries that are off campus. Some have volunteered at a community garden, the Humane Society or animal rescues. That might look like, you know, a food, toy, or supply drive, or I know some chapters have made dog toys or blankets for the shelters. The Ronald McDonald House. If you guys don't have a Ronald McDonald House near you, that could also look like volunteering at a children's hospital or a hospital. You would just have to reach out to them to kind of discuss the requirements and kind of all things like that. I know my chapter after I went alum volunteered at the Ronald McDonald House and they made food. And so that's always an option. Special Olympics. I know that their Special Olympics is usually held throughout the year. And so that could be an option too. A lot of schools have dance marathons. I know I'm from the Alpha Z chapter at the University of Central Florida, and so our dance marathon is a huge one. So fundraising for dance marathon and then participating in the event too can also count as a community at large event. Gift of Life, which is our national, it's a national philanthropic organization that we work with. You know, you as a chapter, which I know we did Gift of Life during our National Service Week, which is usually in November. Gift of Life, you guys could do a booth to promote, you know, Gift of Life. you guys could all get screened and promote the screening process. Gift of Life is a really great organization that we love to work with. So if that's an option that you guys are looking into, I think it's definitely something that's easy. It's an easy project to set up also. And then school supply drives for teachers in the area, which could also be a really great idea too, especially since a lot of teachers have to pay for school supplies themselves. Districts don't usually support them that much, and so maybe if you have an alum who's still a local teacher or anything like that, that might be a great idea. Or if you don't have an alum, but you have teachers at schools near you that express that they need school supplies, that could also be an option too. Did anybody want to share about a project that they did that they really enjoyed through the community at large area? Let's see. We love making plastic yarn blankets for those experiencing homelessness to help protect them from the elements. Grace, that's a great idea. Chelsea said, we love doing Project Linus and we use scraps from the blankets to make dog toys for the shelter. That's a great option too. I know Project Linus is definitely a popular project that a lot of chapters end up doing. If anybody went to convention the last time it was held, I believe Project Linus was done as one of the service projects at convention. So that's always an option too, especially with Project Linus, you guys can do the tie knot blankets. And so if a couple people are working on a tie knot blanket at the same time, it definitely it doesn't take that long and a lot of people benefit from it. Did anybody else want to share? Let's see. Marilyn said we raise money for our local sexual assault resource center by selling clothing on our campus that our members had donated, and you guys raised over $600. Wow. That's a good idea. Daniel said, we also do planning. It's a great thing to do regularly at chapter and have everybody bring in plastic bags. Awesome. And then Abby said, we love doing Project Linus as well during recruitment to get to know potential new members. Great ideas. Janice said, we love collecting Coke tabs for Ronald McDonald House and donating it to them. That's a good project too. All great ideas. If anybody has anything else, feel free to share, or I think we're good to move on. Jessica said lasagna love, making lasagnas for the local community. Nice. So yeah, another, example, you guys could do Meals on Wheels, or some chapters will like adopt a senior and just go and spend time with the seniors. And so definitely like community at large, you guys have a lot of opportunities to really pick projects that are kind of individualized to your community, which is awesome. So I'm gonna move on to okay, Ashley, we are helping Huntington Developmental Therapy Center put on their all-inclusive egg hunt for little ones with disabilities. Beautiful. I love that idea. Perfect. If you guys are good, then I'm gonna move on to the next slide. Okay, examples of members of the sorority. So I will say in the chapters that I have talked to already about feedback on service projects, the members of the sorority tends to be the area of service that chapters tend to have the most difficulty coming up with projects. But some examples are you could host a fundraiser for the foundation. You could host a fundraiser for the scholarship fund through the foundation. A lot of chapters do a Teach a Sister workshop, which some of those topics, in order for that to count, they need to be, probably life skills that benefit the members of the sorority. So some of them I put on here, how to change a tire, how to cook, which I think could be a really fun one, especially if everybody brings in one ingredient or a couple ingredients, how to budget, household skills. I've seen some chapters do like a how to sew type workshop, or you might, pick another life skill that could be beneficial. And then organizational skills, which with all of us being in school, that's always a great, topic to do, whether it's time management or kind of another organizational skill, just so that everybody can be successful. Some chapters have done self-defense classes, which a lot of the police departments on campuses will offer. You can do an archive chapter history. You could do a scrapbook. You could really look into like the history of your chapter, which I think can be really cool, especially if your chapter has been around for a little while. And you can really kind of look in to see how your chapter has developed and changed over the years. You can complete a traditions workshop. So that might include, going over the songs that we have for our sorority, and kind of looking at the other traditions and really, understanding why the traditions are important. And I've also seen chapters will send letters or cards to other chapters, which I think is a great idea. And kind of have like a little pen pal system. And another one that I saw on here is completing like a medical class, kind of similar to that self-defense. You guys could do CPR classes, first aid, kind of that's a helpful life skill that, usually people in college aren't exposed to unless you're working in kind of certain career fields. And so that might be an option too. Really because all these options, benefit members of the sorority, but it's not just let's all hang out and do something together. It's a little bit more meaningful than that. So, did anybody have any examples they wanted to share for this section? So Daniel said for the Teach a Sister workshop, do both the person teaching and the people participating get service hours or only the one teaching the skill? So that's going to be kind of dependent on how you guys want to do it. I would say if the person is maybe exec plans the event together and then everybody that participates gets service hours. If you want, you can email me. My email is at the end of this PowerPoint and we can always talk about it if you have more questions. Megan said last semester we did a skills class on how to fix stuff with your car and how to fix things around your apartment. So yeah, that would be a perfect Teach a Sister workshop. Janice said we do Teach a Sister how to cook. We did spaghetti and we did like 4 different types of spaghetti. Perfect. Yeah, and then with that, learning how to grill too, that's fire safety. So that's definitely something that you can incorporate too. Marilyn said we had our members get CPR certified and everyone loved it, especially those who were planning to enter the medical field. Awesome. And then Jasmine said we like to do DEI workshops. And that works too. That's a great choice. You can also there's leadership development courses through OPA portal. So that's always an option. Everybody could sit down and do one together, and that allows you to work on, skills that also benefit the sorority. Chelsea said we like to do the traditions workshop right after initiation, so that way we can teach our new members about everything as well. Yeah, perfect. And then Ashley said Marshall puts on an etiquette dinner class, basically in how to eat, behave during an interview. Yeah, all great ideas. We are gonna move to Nations of the World. So this one, some chapters have difficulty finding organizations to kind of do their Nations of the World projects with. So a common one, Charity Miles, which basically it's an app you guys download on your phones, and you guys can, dictate how long you want that project to go on for. And I would recommend if you're doing Charity Miles to put like a minimum number of either miles or steps or something, as a criteria so that you can make sure that people are actually participating. But Charity Miles, then once you download it, you're allowed to pick a charity as long as it's an international charity, then you can use that as your Nation of the World project. You could do a book drive or a shoe drive to send to developing countries. Feed My Starving Children is an organization where you guys can make food packs and they will distribute them to children that are in need. Another thing, you guys could host a fundraiser that benefits international charities. You guys could do a medical or school supply drive to send overseas. Some chapters will do sponsoring families overseas, which you guys can do that as well. Threads of Hope, UNICEF, Amnesty Decoders is an organization that allows volunteers to conduct research to find instances of human rights violations. So if your chapter really wants to do something that kind of promotes human rights, that would be a good option. And if you guys want more information, I can definitely, if that's a project that you're looking into, I can send more information your way. And then I support the girls, which is a feminine hygiene item / bra drive. And so that was one of the like projects that my chapter did. And for every 3 items that we brought in, we got a service hour. So that could also be an option. Did anybody want to share about what their chapter's doing in this area? So Jasmine said, does working service hours at warehouses like Books for Africa or Rise Against Hunger count under this category? I would think so. But I can definitely look into more information, Jasmine, and verify that that's the case, and then I can reach out to you. And then Riley said, haven't decided on an org, but we're planning on doing an Earth Day fundraiser plant tote sale for climate change. Yeah, that would be a good one too. So definitely, those are some good ideas. Did anybody else want to share an idea? We do the Pulsera project where we sell bracelets that are made by people in Central America. Yeah, that's a great idea. So Grace said, could promoting awareness count as service hours? You could do like a table to promote some of these organizations. I would say that in order for it to fully count, maybe host some sort of like item drive to go with it. Or like that might be like a donation type drive that you do. Just because just doing the awareness doesn't fully count, but if you kind of added in either like some sort of drive or whether that's monetary or like a tangible item type drive, that could be an option too. Ashley said we made bracelets and sold them for the Malala Fund. Yeah, that's a cool project too. So just making sure that you guys are it's an international charity, and it's a little bit more than just promoting. There's an actual like service approach taking to it. Did anybody else want to share? Okay, I'm gonna move right along because I think we might be a little short on time. Okay, so examples of mental health projects. So you guys could do the NAMI event. The World Needs More Love Letters is also an option. It's in an organization where you guys can write letters to people, I believe, who are in the hospital and kind of going through some like rough times. And so kind of writing that letter to help, benefit them in their mental health. If you can also do a mental health topic seminar on your campus. The only thing is in order for it to count, it needs to be completed in partner with your university's kind of mental health resources. So whether that's maybe a counselor that's on campus, but making sure that there's someone from your university who is also able to partner with that. You can volunteer with individuals with developmental disabilities. And then you can also write letters to soldiers who are overseas, veterans, first responders, or medical staff. Is there anybody that wants to share a project from this area? Let's see. So Riley said, can we partner with the neurodivergent advocacy org to discuss autism and mental health? You can, Riley. You would just need to, that one we can talk about. So if you want to send me an email, we can talk about that one. Jasmine said, we had a hydrate, don't dehydrate event with a mental health twist on it where we wrapped the water bottles in mental health labels, handed out mental health stickers, and provided a trifold on the benefits of hydration on mental health. Yeah, that's a great idea. Chelsea said, we did the cards for veterans and healthcare workers and received great feedback from those who received the cards. Awesome. And then Jillian said, some letter writing organizations we worked with are Letters Against Isolation, writing letters to seniors in assisted living facilities, and the Letter Project, writing letters to girls struggling with mental health. Yeah, so those would definitely fit into this area. And then we can go over the last one. So the President's Project. There are so many options of projects that can fit into this category. Pretty much any of your events that you would count for other areas of service, except for maybe like the members of the sorority, you could count as your President's Project. From the fall semester, when I was looking through, people volunteered at walks that were held on their campus to benefit different causes. They volunteered at food pantries. They did Habitat for Humanity, the Humane Society, among other projects. There's tons of options. If you feel like you're having difficulty coming up with an idea for this project, please reach out to me, because there are so many options, and more than likely anything that you put for this project area is going to get approved. So, I'm also going to go over automatically unapproved projects. So some of these include, a lot of chapters want to do positivity rocks or positivity notes. We are not able to approve those. Operation Christmas Child, there's Autism Speaks. If some chapters want to do the self-care day / events, we can't approve those. That's going to be more of a sisterhood event. PowerPoint nights, that's also going to be more of a sisterhood event. Recruitment, one night of recruitment is service. We are not able to count those as a service project. De-stress events, that is also going to be probably more of a sisterhood type event. Free rice, making vision boards, hanging flyers up around campus for hours, and then also Instagram posts for hours, since some chapters have tried to do that. Are there any questions about this slide? We do a service project of recruitment, it can't count. So with recruitment, service is part of recruitment, but a project that's being done, that can be a project that's more of like one of your additional projects, but a service project at recruitment can't count as one of the 60% projects, if that makes sense. Because usually when you're doing recruitment, you have like a sisterhood night, there's an info night. Depending on how each chapter does it, I know mine did like a sisterhood night, a service night, kind of an info night, and then we did a couple more just kind of like informal nights. But the service project, because it's just part of recruitment, we can't count that as a service project. Non-mandatory project. Claire, I believe so. I know certain chapters require attendance for recruitment. I don't know if that is a national requirement. So usually chapter, like people are supposed to attend a certain number of nights for recruitment. That's at least how my chapter did it. I would say it's a case by case situation depending on what you're choosing as your project for recruitment. But if you have specific questions, feel free to email me. Does anybody have any other questions about this slide? Okay. So some friendly reminders. If somebody from the national team, which if it's service, it's gonna come from me, or Alyssa, who is our managing director. Please try to respond in a timely manner, especially if the email is about something important. Please make sure you're filling out those monthly officer reports by the 15th of each month. If it's a couple days later or if things are just kind of getting hectic and you totally forget, if you want to shoot me an email, feel free. Usually I give you guys like a 2-day kind of buffer past the 15th before I kind of start to send those emails saying, hey, I haven't seen your guys' monthly officer report. So just make sure you're paying attention to the calendar on those. And then don't be afraid to reach out with any questions you may have. The service team's here to help you guys and support everybody, and we want everybody to be successful. Please make sure you're submitting your projects for spring as soon as you guys know about them. So that way they can be approved. If you've submitted them, please be patient with us while we're reviewing them and we'll give you guys feedback in an email. And then again, kind of if there is feedback given and you guys have to pick a different project for a certain area, just make sure that you guys are refilling out that form on OPA portal with that updated project. And then have a great spring semester. We believe in all of you. I think, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? And then I put my contact information on here. I know I've only worked with about half of the chapters, but starting the second semester, our service team is going to look a little different. So you guys are probably going to be hearing from me more, along with Alyssa. So my contact information's on here. If you guys want to take note of it, that works too. I'm also going to send out an email right before, the semester starts, kind of introducing myself to the chapters that I haven't worked with, and then just so that everybody has that. And then thanks so much. I think we are all good to go back to that main kind of breakout room, because I think the next steps is everybody else is going to get broken up based off of if they have questions. So that is all from me. If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out. And then I think you guys are good to go back to the main breakout room. Let's see. Let me. Let's see. I think, Daniel, if you just leave the room, I think it'll take you back to the main room.